night. This is Murido on Monday, and you're listening to the voice of Ibn Mabunda, the money man. Now, disasters such as fires have become a recurring nightmare for informal traders and small to medium enterprises across Harare and many other urban centers in Zimbabwe. From the busy stalls of Marembo to the Glenview Home Industry Complex, devastating fire outbreaks have left livelihoods shattered, goods reduced to ashes, and families plunged into economic uncertainty. These incidents have exposed a lack of preparedness, inadequate infrastructure, and slow emergency response, raising questions about whether enough is being done to protect these critical sectors of the economy. In this discussion, we focus on understanding what mechanisms are in place or lacking to help mitigate these disasters and support recovery when they occur. We will interrogate also suspected causes of these fires, including claims of sabotage, poor infrastructure, and negligence. We ask how future disasters can be prevented or better managed. Ultimately, this discussion aims to bring to the fore actionable insights that can guide policy, inform disaster response strategies, and ensure that informal traders and SMEs are not only protected but also empowered to recover, adapt, and thrive. Now, to help me navigate this mouth-watering conversation, I'm joined in the studio by Councillor Denford Ngadziore, Chairman of the SMEs Committee at the City of Harare, Saibet Makuzha, Chief Research and Operations Officer for Markets, again from the City of Harare. We also have Taurai Marembo, SMEs Advisory Board member, as well as Chairman for Business Development Committee. We also have Agnes Magunje, Chairperson, Informal Traders Empowerment Association. We also have Last Matema, Secretary, Indigenous Advisory Practitioners Association of Zimbabwe. We also have Tawanda Utete, Management Chairman of Glenview Area 8 Furniture Complex. Now, lady and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Murido on Monday.
Thank you and good evening.
Fantastic. Glad to have you in conversation. This is a subject of much conversation and a sad development when you look at the impact of this very occurrence. I will start with you, Mr. Tawanda Utete, the Management Chairman of the Glenview Area 8 Furniture Complex. We welcome you to the program, and we of course sympathize with the affected businesses and affected families because of this very occurrence. May you speak to us in terms of the impact of this very incident?
Thank you so much for the opportunity that you have given me. My name is Tawanda Utete, has been alluded. Taita dambudziko hombe ku Glenview Area 8 ere moto, of which ratiparadzira zvinhu zvakawanda zvinokosha, mari dzinokosha, but chatida kuzongotenda Mwari ndechekuti hatina kurasikirwa neupenyu asi tarasikirwa neproperty nezvekushandisa at Glenview Area 8 Furniture Complex.
Right. Thank you for that initial submission. Again, we sympathize with you as key business persons in the Zimbabwean business community. Now, let's move to the city of Harare. When you look at the state of disaster preparedness and risk reduction strategies, has the city of Harare implemented enough of a regime of measures to try and mitigate the occurrence of these fires?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Councillor Ngadziore, Chairperson for Small to Medium Enterprises, City of Harare. First of all, I want to highlight to listeners that this is not the first time when these major fires outbreaks have happened in the Glenview Area 8. From my research, this is the 8th time for the last 15 years.
The 8th time.
The 8th time, yeah, for the last 15 years. In 2018, it happened 2 times. I think then 2019, 2020, 2025, and the way before that. But from our perspective at the city, I think this is a major issue that needs the oneness, that needs an inclusive approach, so that we find a common solution to this crisis. But above all, there's also need for the traders at the Area 8 also to respect institutions. When I say institution, I mean City of Harare, which is the planning authority, and also the government and other stakeholders. When we had a visit this morning, with the Minister of Law Government, the Minister of Women and Small to Medium Enterprises, we got a report from Outet who is here that one of the areas fire brigade yakastruggle kuti ipinde and I'm glad kuti committee Outet, I think they are doing a fantastic job because we have tried to engage as a city. Takatomena pa site about 3 weeks ago, if not mistaken, and we have agreed on a roadmap. Unfortunately, before we implement that roadmap, fire out brigade yakazoya zero in the early morning. But we hope we are going to start implementing whatever we have agreed per Grandview Area 8, per a common ground between the city and the traders. Some time ago, Council made a resolution which was not implemented. You could to temporarily relocate the traders at Grandview Area 8 to Grandview 1 complex.
Allow me to jump in there. Why was it not implemented?
There was a bit of resistance from part of the Grandview Area 8 complex. It was way before it was after coming in. But on top of that, I think it also like a consultation, because it was just a decision that we have made to townhouse without engaging the traders themselves. Or at least from our engagement in our triple ground today, we've identified about 3 sites. And even preferred sites are maybe amongst the 3. So this time I'm sure Tipachaita an improvement, because already Tatanga consultation. Kutitine site which is meant for primary school, but we can temporarily relocate these people to Chivaka this market. Then also another site which is a private entity, but we can also engage my developers land. So at least this time implementation might be fast and quick, because Tatanga engagement was what has stopped development at Grandview Area 8 in Yaechi, relocation of people.
Right. We have 2 officers from the city of Harare today. We also have the Chief Research and Operations Officer. From your assessment, what is the extent of the damage, if you could speak in terms of figures, and the number of traders that have been impacted by the occurrence of this very magnitude? How bad is the damage we're talking about here?
Yeah, it's quite significant. Here we're talking of loss of livelihoods. We are estimating that about 700 traders have been affected, and the quantum or loss of money, it's quite big, because instantly you are looking at not less than 100,000 US, but quite more than that. And then, but of course, you've got the multiplier effect. These people, remember, they feed down to other economies, so it's not just stopping there; it's also affecting downstream industries. Those that have been getting waste from this site, they've also been affected. So I would say the Glenview local economy has been hugely affected by this fire inferno.
Right. Taurai Marembo, SMEs Advisory, may you speak to us about the support mechanisms or relief packages that are available to SMEs in the aftermath of disasters of this very nature?
The government has always had some support mechanisms whereby the other time some traders were affected were actually given some startups so that they could recapitalize again. But I think much of the efforts are not being implemented, because what is happening at Grandview 8 is, once there is a fire, everyone comes in, everyone has got so much energy to see what can be done. But immediately after that, everything dies. So that's why you see we still have the fires there. Up to this day, there is no infrastructure which has been put up, and the issue of infrastructure has been discussed for a very, very long time. And I think like this time the government is actually coming up with an option whereby they are bringing in a contractor to put up infrastructure there. I'm not sure the arrangement with the city of Harare, but I think the government is actually going to come in this time, because of late when we engaged the city of Harare, I think they didn't have a budget for to build infrastructure at Glenview 8, because we did these engagements since the days of Mr. Machipisa. It was the same thing. So this time the government is coming in and would make sure that we walk the talk and infrastructure is put on. And the good thing is that there is a provisional area where the entrepreneurs, the traders can operate from, while the infrastructure is being put up. And it's being expected to be ready for occupation in January 2026.
Right. I will relay the next question to Agnes Magunje with the question being, what kind of assistance do informal traders currently receive when affected by such disasters?
Okay, thank you. Maybe as Mr. Marembo just highlighted, that there are some funds that are allocated, small funds to resuscitate the losses. But I would also want to maybe go back to my councillor who just stated the several amounts of times that these fires have been occurring, and it's not the the aftermath that we really now need to be speaking about, but also to say if this has been occurring over and over, there surely has to be some findings that were found from the previous fires which have caused this. But I also think that infrastructure is good, but we also need to look beyond infrastructure. We also need to look also on issues of health and safety. What trainings are there in place to say in cases of fire, what are we supposed to do before even the fire, to avoid the fire? How are people conscientized in those workspaces? So even as associations and the people on the ground, I think it is now time whereby there has to be serious conscientization of how do we operate in those spaces? How can we prevent these fires? Because we can even go to new places, but if this is also ignored, and I would love to find, maybe a report to really state what were the findings from the previous occurrences. If we were speaking from that, I think we would be well informed. But because these fires occur and nothing really goes beyond saying we would need to move people from here to there, sometimes it's just the simplest things whereby let's get to conscientize people. In this case, we understand it was from the security people. So if they are coming and such thing, they are not also aware of how to really operate in those in such an environment. It means we are going to continuously create this. But we would love to really hear from the city of Harare and all those on the ground to say what were the findings from the previous fires, so that as we are going forward, even as we sit down to plan for this new premises that we are going, what are things to look out for, because we may actually replicate the same structure or the same troubles that have been happening previously. But let's zone down to what are the effects. That's what we would also want to hear.
Right.
Thank you.
I'm glad that we have the research unit represented in this very conversation. So from time to time, we will be digging for those statistics and to understand the premises of the different fires and how we are finding ourselves in this very scenario for the very 8th time. Right. We also have Mr. Last Matema, Secretary, Indigenous Advisory Practitioners Association of Zimbabwe, who will make his initial submission against the pretext. What are the most common type of disaster risks, particularly fire, that informal traders and SMEs in Zimbabwe face, and how prepared is the sector to respond to these cases?
Yeah, thank you, Eben. Surely, I think everyone agrees that the SME sector is now the majority in terms of business transactions, in terms of the accounting of business activities, but it is a sector that remain underserved as far as formalizing it is concerned. And what we are seeing, all these reports of fires and this negative news that we are hearing, these are symptoms. These are symptoms of how the informal nature of our SME sector is. And yes, we are talking of fire today. We are talking of fire because that is what has been visible with the smokes and everything, and immediately that it's tangible immediately in terms of the quantum of losses and stuff. But SMEs remain prone to serious issues, challenges that are perpetuated by the level of informalization, issue of inadequate social security nets, your pension, medical insurance and everything. These are the problems, real problems over and above fires that SMEs bear on their day-to-day lives. So we are talking of fire today, but there are other bigger problems SMEs are facing given the informalization nature of the sector.
Right. Let's hear from the chairman of the Glenview Area 8 Furniture Complex. From your findings at this point, what caused this very fire? And the city of Harare just indicated that there were some challenges navigating some of the places so that they could deal with the fire. How far true is that from your findings, from the members of your association? And we have, of course, caused this very point. What is it that caused the previous fires? Because if you are saying that we are at fire number 8 in just a short space of time, less than a decade, what could be a common element that's bringing us to this very same point?
Thank you so much for the opportunity once again. Maonero andinozviita ndekuti we have got a serious challenge at Glenview Area 8 nekuti zvinhu zvatinoshandisa zviri highly flammable. Tinoshandisa glue, tinoshandisa thinners, tinoshandisa wood, zvinhu zvatine nemapaints kugadzirisa zvinhu zvedu. So any chance yekuti pangoita slight fire yada kutanga, it becomes huge because inospreada nekukasika. But from the findings dzatakapiwa through ICZ, yakataura kuti the findings dzakaitwa neve Old Mutual zvairatidza kuti magetsi nechekuita nekutanga kwemoto. But on this one, my investigations they're still underway. However, tinengewo tine ma-assumptions atinenge tinawo anogona kusvika kana ku3. Chekutanga vanhu vanogona kunge vakasvuta.
Right. We take a quick breather. We come back, of course, and continue with that conversation. We switch over to news at 7. Star FM sounding good all the time. Now join the movement for safer roads as the Sunday Mail, in partnership with Traffic Safety Council of Zimbabwe, hosts the 2025 Safe Driving Campaign and Conference. This vital event brings together transport operators, drivers, policymakers, law enforcement agents, insurers, vehicle owners, and concerned citizens. Join us at Rainbow Towers, August the 1st, 8:30 a.m. under the theme Stop, Think, Act, Be the Driver You Trust with Your Life. To register, please call Micah on 0772 331156, 0772 331156, or call Fatima on 0772 892872, 0772 892872.
Station ever.
It's good.
It's the best, yeah. I love it. I love the way it sounds. My music.
My station.
Turn it up loud.
Next Level Radio, Star FM, sounding good.
On Monday, and you're listening to the voice of Eben Mabunda, the money man, as we of course come to you from our studios in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare. We are having a conversation on the recurring fires that continue to plague, of course, the Area 8 in Glenview, which is of course a source of livelihoods to over 4,000 traders, and we assess the extent of the damage, what could be done to address this very situation. And of course, we've got multiple stakeholders that join us in this very conversation, drawn from the different quarters of the Zimbabwean as well as the Hararean economy. We have Councillor Denford Gadziore, Chairman of the SMEs Committee, City of Harare. We also have Mr. Saibet Makuzha, Chief Research and Operations Officer for Markets from the City of Harare as well. We also have Mr. Taurai Marembo, SMEs Advisory Board member, as well as Chairperson for Business Development Committee. We are joined as well by Agnes Magunje, Chairperson-Informal Traders Empowerment Association, Last Matema, Secretary, Indigenous Advisory Practitioners Association of Zimbabwe. And we are also in conversation with Mr. Tawanda Utete, Management Chairman of the Glenview Area 8 Furniture Complex. Now, picking up from where we left off, Mr. Tawanda Utete, you were still getting into the teensy-weensys as to what could have possibly caused the fire, of course, that hit this area of business in this very month of July. Please take it away.
Thank you so much once again. My previous fires aitika pa Glenview Area 8 complex. Dzimweni dzenguva mamwe acho aitika pakati peusiku vanhu vakarara. Dzimweni dzenguva aigona kutoitika masikati vanhu varipo. But on this one iri kuratidza kuti yaitika number 1 yaitika muri muna July, tiri pa peak yekutonhora, and yakaitika almost kuma past 5 makuseni kwakunoyedza. So tiri kufungidzira kuti moto unogona kunge wakakonzereswa because munhu akatanga kuzoripota issue yemoto kuti paita moto, aiti moto ari kususpecta kuti moto wakatanga pedyo nechibooster or chimba chaichajisirwa mafoni. So tiri kufungidzira kuti dzimweni dzenguva pangadaro pakagona kunge pakaitika an electrical fault, or the assumption is mumwe munhu akasvuta fodya akadonedza pasi, because nekuda kwemhepo ndobva chigushani chefodya chagona kuzobatidza, because mune mashavings akawanda. And the last thing tiri kufungidzirawo zvakare kuti sezvo kuchitonhora pamwe vanhu vangadaro vakadziya moto, then vadziya moto ndobva moto watorwa nemhepo.
Sorry, allow me to come in there.
Yes.
This is 5 a.m.
Yes.
Explain to us, munenge mune vanhu here at 5 a.m. because mukuti pane vanhu vanogona kunge vakadziya moto. According to that theory, are there people who will be working overnight?
Okay. At Glenview Area 8, sezvamambonzwa vangadzori vachitaura vachiti ukama wanga usina kunyatso kumira zvakanaka pamashandidzirano. So pa Glenview Area 8, as we are speaking, the traders or the people at Glenview Area 8 and the city of Harare. mashandidzirana atanga tichiita anga asina kunyatsojeka kuma-previous committees kusvika patakazopindawo isusu taakutanga kuita zveengagement kuti chii chinofanira kunge chichiitwa pani paglenview era 8 tichiite tiri pamwe chete in consultation with the city of Harare, the small to medium enterprise and the central government. So izvozvi mashandirwo ari kuitwa paglenview era 8 ndeyekuti there's no man that is being collected at Glenview Area 8, even admin fees. People are just working. So it's difficult now kuti umanage nzvimbo yakakura saizvozvo ine vanhu vanogona kusvika 2386 tichitaura vatakaita profile tisingatauri mapasserby of which it can rise the number to 3 or 4,000. So dambudziko riripo nderekuti vanhu vari kuzvichengetera zvinhu zvavo, they are only volunteers varinotorara pacomplex vakachengeta zvinhu nekuti hapana ma-permanent guards. We don't have money to pay those people. Saka takangozoresolva kuti munhu nemunhu ngaachengete zvinhu zvake. So there will be an activity even midnight at Glenview Era 8.
Right. Help me understand. Are there any rules that govern how operators are operating at this Area 8 spot?
Yes, definitely the rules are there. But the problem is when there is no proper administration, definitely those rules won't work.
Right. You are the chairperson of the association for this very area. What have been the obstacles that have come in the way of you running a system of governance, as it were, where this area of business is concerned?
Definitely, we have got ma plans akanyatsokwana atakaita put in place, but nekuda kokuti panga pasina kukama wakanyatsokukwana, because Glenview Area 8 has got its own myth, which is very different. The city of Harare is the regulator. It controls kuletwa kwemari and so on. Nekuzoona kuti social amenities ari kuteedzerwa here epaGlenview Area 8, kubviswa kwemarara, ablution facilities and so on. Small to medium enterprise is the one that has allocated the people that place.
Are you referring to the ministry?
Yes. Yeah. Then us as the people, we have been allocated at Glenview Area 8. So ukama wanga usiri kunyatso kuti gedye zvanga siri kunyatsopindirana, because city council inenge chiti nzvimbo ndeyedu, small to medium enterprise inenge chiti vana ava ndevedu, isusu tinenge takuzonyatsoshaya kuti tonyatsomira tiri papi. So zvakazosvika pakugadziriswa tawana mukana wekunge tapinda isusu in 2023, September 2023. That's when we asked those stakeholders kuti let us put our heads together, ngatinyatsowiriranayi tishande tiri pamwe chete kuti tigone kuti musha wedu udevelopeke tiri pamwe chete.
Right. I move to, of course, the council. I can see, of course, the panelists are very well eager to respond to the questions as well as the subjects that are being raised here. Let's give the councillor an opportunity to speak. From what has been said by the association that's running the Area 8 business hub, it seems what we are seeing is the manifestation of a conflict or a lack of a proper understanding of operation between central government as well as the city of Harare. At the same time, it seems very much apparent that there are no systems in place that are helping the governance of this business area that has become, of course, a hot spot for these fires over the past decade.
No, thank you very much. From my understanding, I think there should not be any confusion between the city of Harare and the central government.
There should not be, and yet there is.
There should not be any confusion, and I'm not even understanding if there is any such confusion. The reason being is that the Ministry of Law Government, the Ministry of Small to Medium Enterprises, its role is the regulator. It's more like the one which supervises the city in terms of policy direction. But we as a city, we are the planning authority, we are the one who plan, we are the one who allocates. And especially when the land belongs to the city of Harare, we are the one who are supposed to allocate. we are supposed to make sure that there are fees collected and also put order on that market. But what had happened before is that again Area 8 some time ago, Yangi too politicized. That's the honest truth. At one time, even my council workers, the local councillor or anyone, white has opened even by complex. So the moment you
why?
It was politicized by people who were running that market. So vakai politicize in a way you could use vaitora mari on behalf of vaitora mari kuma traders, but the council is not in China wana. So it had happened for a long time ago.
Is that still happening now?
Currently I can confirm that like I said before, panatangu yapana nikatakaita tour about 3 to 4 weeks ago. Tikasangana watu in a committee up against Area 8. Tikavira on a red map. Currently, to be honest, I'm not seeing any politicization per market, because we can actually go there to one office right now, it's shaggy on a road map. So that one is I think it's okay. We also had the program a partnership in the other organizations. Yokokoma toilets. That program, it was a program made between the city of Harare, my partners, including the committee, and that program has been going on very well. Mungaenda papa again currently ma bushine facilities aripo, I think my modern facilities yokuti kushanda zvakadini zvakanaka. But what is now critical is for us as a city to make sure that in a proper database that noisa, then also batara futhi ku city of Harare, because there is no way where people can actually freely operate in an environment on 4,000 personal regulation. The other thing that I also noticed from what it has said, the missing link, was I also consulted my fire brigade department, my police and so forth, so that at least they get information what could be the causes. I should try to agree with all what he said in terms of some of these causes. But on top of that, there is also another issue that has caused I think they've in my serious my illegal connections, my gates. When I want to go to my gates from Kwatara, cable. The my legal connections, my short circuits, my exposed wires, then also even my sabotage cables. Those are things that is reading Juripo. Then my extension codes, Manongo Batan is a simbi, auto plastic. Auto plastic, a battery generator or a high powered system. Then on top of that, even in your care is smoking. Area Gazara thinners in a paint in a sawdust. You can say Musango put up our deal, up to put our pass. But the motor was good Kungu Yambukira. But above all, I'm glad with at least soon after our tour that a meeting here, a road may be refined, and we're going to make sure that in the next few months, even the relocation in Pachajo, Ichaitwa through consultation and Tatawa Giria, but Tatatora even Paraguda. What we are going to do as a committee is to have a resolution. You could use temporary market action the E, but already Tato share in terms of what they prefer to go. Because at the end of the day, was against Area 8, I think they are supposed to be temporarily reallocated. But there's supposed to be a time frame. Other people might be reallocated forever. So do not in that situation. So at least by the time frame, could one relocated. But before that, we're supposed to create a proper database for the traders by the public Area 8. Reason being, to avoid a situation like you've seen pakaita ma adverts akaita akabuda paper whereby my beneficiaries wanonga vatsvirwa ne vanhu vanga apply for the new market. Waiona one family ichinzi izvo ndo ma traders. At one time from the Herald newspaper ndakaona almost 8 or so people ane same surname, and I don't believe there's such things. So while least kumbari tangati ne vanhu vanga vaine ma accounts, while least bageni Area 8 asati ane ma accounts. So how Tete and team we are supposed to help each other. Could at least in our Gusha, public accounts. Van was relocated temporarily as by my account. So that goes Zoya was on it. But in our business database, they agreed in my accounts in the city of Harare. Other people might take advantage, then it will cause confusion by getting Area 8 complex.
Right. I will circle back to the city of Harare. Agnes, you were eager to.
Sorry, I wanted also to add. Sorry, there was a question in
briefly.
Briefly. As a city, the problem is that budget. To be honest, sometimes it's not about budget. We are public entity. Sometimes we can actually do these things through private partnership, Triple P. You can also do this through BOT, build, operate, transfer. You can also do this thing through joint venture. Anyway, there are measures that are supposed to be taken, and we have tried to do this. But one of the reasons, in my view, why we have failed to deliver, why we have failed to upgrade Area 8 before, is because of
failed would be a decent
Why we delayed?
term.
Why we delayed? Why we delayed to deliver
Because
or to upgrade
elsewhere,
market was because of the issue of politicization of the area.
Right. You were eager to weigh in from the SMEs associations.
Yes. So what I wanted to go back to is the issue of being organized, and the issue also of the proper governance, and the issue of the interference, or rather the disruption between City of Harare and the informal sector. I think beyond time, as things were going, Glenview 7, we used to have associations, proper associations that were really responsible in a way whereby there was the chairperson, the treasurer, the secretary, and all the other members. So that would also address the issue of how were we registering. But politics being politics, and people also infiltrating the area. There was a lot of disruption there where, some people are coming from either the city of Harare, or other people are coming from politics itself and claiming spaces there. So you'd then find that the traders would be there, but then now, because there are other issues that are coming maybe from city of Harare, where they think, because they would not understand what is happening on the ground. So then the infiltration of those authorities also causes disruption to the traders who are on the ground. So going forward, I think the best issue is we can't wait and wait for people to come to our offices and give us databases. But I think City of Harare has a lot of employees who are also who are active when it comes to collecting funds. So those should also be engaged physically on the ground and really make sure that as we are planning for the people, we are planning for the correct people who are the beneficiaries for the new spaces. In issues also of this new infrastructure that is also going to be developed, let's be very cognizant of these issues that have been raised. So as we are also building this infrastructure, let's also be cognizant of how highly inflammable some of these things are. Saka structure yatiri kuisa ipapo inenge yakamira sei, mutemo chaenderana nevanhu vari kushandisa zvinhu izvozvo unofanira kunge wakaita sei. Kana tichiti vamwe ndo vari kungogadzira masofa ekuti maybe apa. Plus also, if these associations are really functional and they are also accountable, inini I would testify to that, to say we would keep our chairpersons accountable kuti imimi tipe report nasi chichiri kuitika paground zvinhu zvisati zvava out of hand. Saka ndokwatinoda kudzokera ikoko kuti patiri kunogadzirisa nekunzvimbo inyowani tisazoda kuzotanga kugadzirisa matambudziko avapo, but ngatimaavoidei, tonyatso kurongeka kuti vanhu vari paground vakanzwisisa kuti mumwe nemumwe ari kuchengetedzawo upenyu hwake, ari kuchengetedzawo upfumi hwake, then zvinotibatsira. But atidi kuzoti tinoudzirwa nevanhu vanenge vakubva kunze vangouya kudana kansela kuti ava ndo vava vepanapa, kana kuti ava ndo vakushanda neCity of Harare. Tiri kuda kuti isusu vanhu ngavabve patiri kuti aiwa isusu panapa toshanda zvakanaka namaichi weshe, ndo vatiranga tichifunga kuti chi vave mutungamiriri wedu, ndo vatoda kuita chairperson, ndo vachatoonera zvakati. And let's zone kuti isusu kana tiri vekumasofa tiri kumiririrwa, tiri kutoziva mashandiro atinoita, tinoziva panouya magudzi edu, ngaasango kanganisika. Avawo vari kushandawo nemaglue nei, pari kuunzwa ngadhilivharwe nekuendi kwakati zvichiuyiwa zvakati zvichengetedzeka. That's the way that I think kuti we will all be held accountable. We as the traders, we want order. We also don't want this disruption ye business. But we say as we are moving forward, ngatigadzirisei matambudziko aya, tisaramba chingotaura chinhu chimwe chete asi tiende mberi.
Right. I can see you are eager to come in there, but I want to relay this question to Taurai Marembo to say, estimates are showing that this is a market that is generating over $1 million per month. I repeat, over $1 million. Unfortunately, these figures are not as tabulated for us to actually speak with specificity to say this is actually the revenue figure that is being collated per month from this particular market. But preliminary estimates are showing that at least $1 million is generated from Glenview Area 8 market. And yet, just from the conversation that's been had here, you can tell, you can pick, you can understand, you can decipher that it's very clear that there are no structures in place to ensure that we don't find ourselves again in this very spot that we are at. So my question to you is, what would be the panacea to this very situation that we find ourselves with? 4,000 traders, of course, operating in this very market. Over $1 million is being generated. And so you'd want to imagine the extent of the damage and what it means to the homes and families that rely on this particular market. As an SME association, you represent two organizations in this particular context. What would be the solution from your particular perspective?
Yeah, in this case, all the problems, everything that we are talking about here is coming back to the issue of infrastructure. Whatever figures that have been raised and everything, we can still not talk of those figures on the basis that we could even be generating more than that if we have had infrastructure at Glenview 8. Unfortunately, there have been problems behind there, which made it very impossible to come up with an infrastructure there. City of Harare are part of that problem. At one time, a certain commercial bank, the ministry had agreed, when Maistem Sonyon was still the minister, there was an arrangement with a certain commercial bank which had agreed to partner and come up with infrastructure there on a BOT. Everything didn't end well. It didn't manifest because there is this, we own the place, and then they at City of Harare, they also have their own bureaucracy there, which at the end of the day, we keep on going round and round and round. And as we speak today, families are being affected, and also there is also the issue of formalization, which is very important there for the traders operating at Glenview 7, whereby as they operate, it's also very important for the traders to follow proper business ethics. You know, business has got its own ethics. There are things that a business person has got to do. We need proper banking, we need insurance, we also need proper accounting, whereby you can have proper statistics, and also there is also this issue of knowing who is who at Glenview 8 Furniture Complex. It's a very important issue, which is also creating a lot of discord, such that we now have a scenario whereby we have a structure that says we are the management, but it doesn't have any powers. When you listen to Comrade Utete speaking, you can see that, yes, they have a structure, but he says everyone is looking after his own staff, and the executive doesn't have any power. You know, it's all coming to the issue whereby there is no coordination. There is no coordination. In this case, the ministry doesn't have any problem, because the ministry is more on policies, and yes, the SMEs, they are baby, but what they do on the ground now, it's more to do on them as traders, as entrepreneurs, getting organized, so that we reap the real fruits. Like in this case, let's have a scenario whereby we just talk. We've been on radio several times talking. After every fire, we're on radio.
So this has become some kind of a ritual.
Yes.
That
so
produces
it's
no
not
results.
happening. But this time, we are saying, if City of Harare doesn't have capacity, or if they are not in a position to bring in those partners, and there are a lot of people willing to come in. willing to come in. And let's also open it up so that we don't end up having a scenario whereby we have infrastructure whereby we have an infrastructure whereby it ends up like a white elephant, like the one in Bari there. There is infrastructure, a new infrastructure in Bari, but it doesn't have takers. We don't want the same thing at Glenview 8.
Right. Ms. Last Matema, I know that you're an authority when it comes to formalization and what the SMEs need to do. I want to give an opportunity to the city of Harare to respond. What's been said here is that the city of Harare is responsible for the quagmire that we find ourselves in as an economy in this particular case. And the former speaker spoke to the effect of the premises that what we're seeing here is the manifestation of a committee that's not emancipated. Yes, they have a structure, but according to the former speaker, there are gaps in terms of what they are bringing to this very conversation. Proof of the fact that maybe they're not emancipated enough by the council. And allow me to say this, elsewhere, at fire number 8, somebody should be answerable. And elsewhere, somebody would be forced to resign because of the occurrence of an incident of this very nature. 8 fires in the space of less than a decade. May you respond.
Thank you very much. What I would like to bring to attention is that I've seen the reference that is given of the bank, the commercial bank, but I want to emphasize that City of Harare has made tremendous strides in improving the livelihoods of SMEs. If you notice today, we are speaking of an SMEs committee, which was not there then available. We are speaking of a disaster management committee. These are committees of councillors put specifically to deal with issues that are affecting the city. And then, of course, if you look at the way we've moved right now as we speak, we've now got a very pronounced SMEs policy that we're implementing. If you look at that policy and on stance 17.3, it's got something to do with health and safety, something that we are really aggressively trying to work on. If you look at the city right now, it's aggressively coming up with a microfinance bank to be able to finance infrastructure development. So I think if we look back a lot in the past, it may blur our vision to look forward. Rather, let's try and we've turned the page. And I can assure the residents of the city that the SMEs is no longer the same. Right now, you can have a trader trading at a designated site, you'll be having a permit. So these are things that we're trying to come up with to ensure that indeed the SMEs really make a big count to the economy of this country.
Right, Mr. Last.
Yeah,
Matema.
Thank you, Eben. I've been following the discussions. Of course, we like what the just ending speaker has just said. We have a past, but we are now looking forward. I think the most important thing, Eben, and I think all stakeholders will do, the panelists will agree with me. For us to not because what we are seeing are symptoms of a real problem. You could tell the disconnect in terms of chairman is saying. He has no power as an authority at the on site. You hear Councillor Denford speaking of the fact that the city is not collecting anything. And he was probably last 2 weeks, trying to have a map of going forward. We have SME board, and I'm sure being the ministry, they have genuine issues in terms of what they think they should push their SME development agenda towards. But it goes back to what are these if we are to move forward, are we coming up with a solution that addresses City of Harare's concerns? Will City of Harare collect its rates? Will the central government collect its taxes? Will the trader work in a sustainable manner? These are the only three. They are not the only stakeholders in SME development. There are other development that are bad by the nature of chaos that is on site.
Chaos.
Chaos. Your banks, your insurance partners, your councillor is highlighted a disturbing point to say they don't have even a database. Who does what? How much does he do? It's quite worrisome. But we are now here as a people. If we are to go forward, let's address each stakeholder's concern. If we are not to have these issues coming, if we are to stop this routine of having fires and coming to the radio, next 6 months we are on the radio again. I think that is my contribution.
Right. Let's hear from the chairman of the association at Area 8. Of course, we would want to hear from them. What do you want to see happen as you, of course, bring us your final thoughts on this subject matter as we're ready for a round-up? What do you want to see happen so that we don't find ourselves in 2026 having fire number 9 and having another radio conversation on Muriro on Monday?
Thank you so much, Eben. Ndoda kutenda kuti from our inception in September 2023 takangoita moto umwe chete, that is around November. 2024 hatina kuita moto. 2025 tatopusha tichiti at least moto hatichatomboudi nekuti tine zvinhu zvatakatawo put in place se management committee and board at Glenview area 8. Izvozvi pane utungamiriri huri stable. Me as the chairman, vice secretary, treasurer, and secretary for health, secretary for labor, and so on. Board Queen on 6 who also supervise us. So the issue is at Glenview area 8. I'm happy. The SMEs ministry and the city council vabudisa mapoints andandamboreisa paya kuti tanga tisina kunyatsopfekana kudai, because that place specifically was given to 483 storeholders, and those people who have come in vakauya vachiita kunge vari kuloja ku 483, and vanhu vepa Glenview area 8 vauya vakaramba vachiuya because vakaona pane mukana webusiness to an extent yekuti nzvimbo yakabva yava overcrowded. So as we speak, zvimwe zvacho zviri kunyanya kukonzeresa these fires. It's not like it's mismanagement, no, but administration wise we cannot administer a place tisina kana any revenue tiri kucollecta. Tofanira kuti tine magadzi atinobhadhara, izvozvi tingadai tatutura magadzi ese kuti kindly explain.
I'm sorry, ndikandipinda ipapo.
Yeah.
At this point, what is it that is stopping you from having those collections? After making those collections, you put in place a proper administrative structure.
Yes.
You've been in power since 2023.
Yes.
What is it that has stopped you right up to this point?
Yeah. Iyo inyaya yekusanyatsofamba kwezvinhu kuti who is supposed to do what, especially to the Ministry of Small to Medium Enterprise and the City of Harare. Because pakabva paita kunge
so is there now a path?
Definitely izvozvi manzwa councillor Ngadzori vachitaura kuti we are now in unison to an extent yekuti vanhu vatanga kuuya kuzogadzira pacomplex, we are now doing it together. City of Harare nesu se Glenview area 8 and Small to Medium Enterprise taakubatirana tiri pamwe chete kuti zvinhu zvedu zvifambe zvakadi zvakanaka. I can safely say izvozvi even paita this disaster, the mayor was there, central government was there, or fire brigade yakauya in less than 25 minutes to help us. kuti moto udzimike. However, because of crowdness yepa Glenview area furniture complex takashaya ma-access roads. But from the time we are central government today, tatine ma-ministers too, and other two represented. I'm happy kuti the Minister for Small to Medium Enterprise and Community Development, vataura zviri very clear kuti no, this time around, let us pull up our socks. Titewo zvinhu zvinobatika. And our local government minister, Honorable Daniel Garwe, vabva vatotaura nema-time frames kuti starting from September, vanhu vakutouya paground kuti vachitanga the process of rebuilding Glenview Area 8. Vakataura ivo kuti latest time is around January, around February, pakutoitwa official opening by His Excellence, which means the city of Harare is doing its work, the central government is as well doing its work, and small to medium enterprise is also supporting us as traders at Glenview Area 8, because havana kuti siya tiri tega, vativimbisa kuti vachatipa pamwe pekuti tisanoshandira, because pakasanzwaro manzwa zvichitaurwa nzi our economy yato informal economy ndo iri kutora nzvimbo hombe, maybe about 60 or so percent muno muZimbabwe. Saka zveshuwa tiri kufanira kunge tichisupportwa as informal traders kuti basa redu rigone kupfuurira mberi zvakanaka uye mhuri dzedu dzigone kurarama mune zvakanaka.
All right, thank you. Just some thoughts that are coming from our listeners. One says, inindi nosona mu complex, but I think munobiwa then kurasa humbo kupisa. They're saying they work in the complex and they allege that perhaps this could be some cover-up act for some theft activities that would have taken place. There is also a question that's being raised that says, who will compensate these traders? And their name is Nyati. Please, when you relay your thoughts, please identify yourself so that we can raise your concerns on this very program. Of course, our number is 0771622651. Right, we move to Councillor. Your final thoughts and your response to some of the concerns that have been raised in this very conversation.
No, thank you very much. Chokutanga ndo respond to the issue ministry. Vanga vachita as if council ndiyo iri stumbling block to the progress. Council inotoda kucollecta mari, inotoda order. But like I said, the issue politics association at Glenview Area 8, yaitoda even a ministry intervention. But through our engagement, in the city of Harare, the current committee, I think it's zvabatsira, because at least pana kakuchidzana takatoita ifiti paground way before motosata today, and what we've agreed ma measures ekudzidzirira izvozvo, and I can assure I don't think tichaita futi another meeting or another interview here tichitaura nyaya yemoto inenge ishi asidi yasorovheka, then vataura nyaya yekuti pakaita partnership between Ngoya Minister Nyoni, which was delayed in the city of Harare. I'm not sure about that, because when I joined this council in 2020, pandakaita chairperson in 2022, but I never have such type of arrangement. I'm not even sure. Maybe Mr. Makuzha can also intervene, but I think also as if I also about this arrangement. It's also a progress. Whatever we do, we should do it correctly, procedurally. Tinoro is a city of Harare, we are the planning authority, we are the allocation authority. Then also pane royal ministry, pane also royal zida. Because there couldn't partnership in zida, even joint venture. So sometimes some of these things zvakarambira kuzida, then moita as if city of Harare. An example, when Mbare payakatwa recently, pakata pakatsamba pa ministry through cabinet, yaiti izvo batanzai project yekumbare ne Glenview Area 8. Moita chinhu one, morizova, mopa someone to develop. But after everything has been done, zida yakaramba. Ikati izvo separate those projects. And as it stands, there was only Mbare project. So some of these things sometimes don't go for the city of Harare, but are trying to progress. But as it stands, tiripa yakatinaka chose, because at the end of the day, we also need money. But most importantly, any future partnership, they are supposed also to be done correctly, procedurally, so that it is an example. Mbare market yakatwa yange in almost 2,000 traders, if not mistaken, 1.5 2,000 traders. Each one but $30 could cancel. Then then find a new market that has been built in partnership with Masimba. Currently, I'm not sure if we are collecting anything in City of Harare. Are we not collecting Mr. Gusha? But the last time I checked, we were not collecting anything. The last time I checked, and they can confirm that. So for the last 3 or 4 months since the market was officially opened, we are collecting zero. Only a partnership that we have arranged as a city between ourselves, Masimba, and the government. So as we go towards Glenview Area 8, we are also supposed to correct that, because I think it is $2,000, $230. We are now collecting zero. Per market in as much as it is share one, there are also other issues. There is no partnership in non-zinoita partnership. Kuta one profit or within 2 years. There's no such type of thing. Can we do small to medium enterprises? Make sure no long term profits, so that I'm paid. So the arrangement again with Area 8 is supposed to make sure that profits in 10 or 15 years. So that my rentals will be minimum like what they've tried to buy. So all these things we're supposed to make sure that we do that. But still we are very clear. Our microfinance bank board, there are other things that have been done. Policy very clear. What we are doing is the triple stage implementation. Vouchete Patori chairperson Glenview Area 8. The chairperson, because policy very clear. Every trading market is supposed to have a leadership. You need to oversee the security, maintenance, mbura and so forth. Aungati maybe tape yepa mvura yafa. Mudo utikazo itenge. So all these things, those are our initiatives. Rakaita dream police. So kwa usa chairperson, tori kuti wango votrana or wango ripo. But it's because this is what the police of the state of Harare is saying. But above all, you also are aware that this seat, don't report to minister, that we are very clear. At one time, they don't shawasha more market. Yado wakwa turungu ya mea manyenyeni wali mea, if you're mistaken, mea masunda. It was mea masunda, pango wali mea. It was the project, ye Melinda Bill Gates. Yado wakwa shawasha more. The groundbreaking ceremony was disrupted by politically connected people. You are aware of that. But Maria yakato transfer ikabviswa kumbare. Ikaenda wakadzimba ku dzwarasekwa. Kamuru dzwarasekwa along mchenda ku extension. Pana dzimba zene handles. Anenge maturu mziyaza. Imari Melinda Bill Gates. Yafana kwakachi those things. So the issue of politicization in public markets is supposed to stop. Understand? Zokuti batoripo church ipi ngati zvite outside the marketplace, so that at least the city will benefit to endambere. But above all, we want to make sure that in our view, this week I have also requested a meeting to address what we've agreed, because the report yakanyorwa na Makuzha in terms of my recommendation a committee vakatizo we are prepared to pay, and the meaning to say this week at a meeting patone resolution in next week teta full council meeting tapedza vanhu tanga obhadhara, but vabhadhara vaita ma accounts pakuti temporary relocation, it will be easy for them kuti vazodzoka but vananga ma accounts kuavoida ma cases ekumbare akazenga vanhu vakunyorana paukama corruptly.
Right. This is the close of July 2025. I do hope that we'll be able to have the conversation in 12 months' time with you, Mr. Chairman, and you, Councillor, just to track the progress of what would have been implemented from this conversation, because you speak so bullish about what you are putting together. Mr. Taurai Marembo.
Yes, my God.
Right, your final thoughts as we wrap up the conversation.
Yeah. At the end of the day, talking is very cheap. We really need to walk the talk. And, things on paper in offices and not on the ground will not help the situation. What we need is to have infrastructure on the ground, because everything that we are trying to discuss here about these fires, it's all leading to the issue of infrastructure. If all the players can walk the talk and we have infrastructure on the ground, that will be the best thing. Let's have timelines. Let's have timelines. If we are saying by January we'll be having completed infrastructure where people are ready to occupy, let's do it, rather than to have things planned, things in books, things everywhere. At the end of the day, without walking the talk, this has been what has been happening all the time. It's not the first time we hear these stories. Let's have a scenario whereby if there are no partners, if there's not our friends who have got capacity, we don't have friends who have got capacity, let's just do the proper thing. Advertise these tenders. We get a lot of players, and the players are there. But the way we do things, we have a scenario whereby you start thinking of John, Peter, Mishek, and their companies, and how they can come in, and how we can be part of it, how we can make money of it. At this stage, let's consider the people on the ground, who are the SMEs, who have been affected, and the economy at large, what they are feeding into the fiscus. Let's consider that.
Thank you, Taurai. We have a statement coming from one of the listeners, and this is their statement. What happened to Mbare Musika? Muriro, please set up a program in September. Tirukuda, a progress check. Thank you very much for that contribution. The producers are with us in studio, and they're taking note. That request, producer sirs, for a follow-up in September. Right, Miss Agnes, your final submission, please.
Okay, my final submission would be, we are grateful, that we are having these conversations, and this time, clearly, we really need to have an evaluation. We need to sit down and really see where we are at. And also, in the same instance, we want our leadership to be trained, to be cognizant of what it is exactly that their role is, because we would also want leadership that is really pushing for progress for the people, and leadership that is also going to be really also accountable to say, what is it that we wanted to put in place. We want a structure that is going to speak to the needs of the industry. The case of Mbare, where people just look at a shell and look at the cheapest and easiest way and quickest way of doing things, is not what we want. We want an infrastructure that can complement the work that is being done. So with all the various activities that are happening in Glenview 8, we would also want to say this section, if it's for carpentry, let it be very cognizant. We also want inductions done to the traders who are on the ground. So it should also be a responsibility of the overall committee that is also putting that in charge. As they are doing their budgets, they should also be cognizant of trainings that are regularly supposed to be done. Fire drills, things like that should also be put in place. Thank you.
Last, Matema, your final submission.
Thank you, Iben. I'm happy to hear from the leaders, particularly Councillor Ngadzore, saying we are now in a mode of moving forward. I think as we move forward, let's not leave behind other stakeholders. Particularly, we have, if you go to our SME Act, we have an authority on SME development, which is SMEDCO. And surely we should be having SMEDCO here. And Councillor, as you go forward, please engage SMEDCO. It's the statutory board charged with the SME development, with the statutory mandate. Of course, from the ministry, SME advisory board, I'm sure we are on the same page in terms of the gaps in the SME Act, in terms of recognizing and empowering SME associations. I think as we work on that SME Act, we must recognize and put proper powers and authority and accountability to SME associations. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those final submissions. A big shout out to our guests, Councillor Denford Ngadzore, Chairman of the SMEs Committee, City of Harare, Saibet Makuzha, Chief Research and Operations Officer for Markets from the City of Harare, again, Taurai Marembo, SMEs Advisory Board member, as well as Chairman of Business Development, Agnes Magunje, Chairperson-Informal Traders Empowerment Association, Last Matema, Secretary Indigenous Indigenous Advisory Practitioners Association of Zimbabwe. Not forgetting, of course, Tawanda Utete, Management Chairman of the Glenview Area 8 Furniture Complex. Of course, this has been a mouth-watering conversation, and a big thank you to our guests as well as to you, our listeners, for your contributions. Of course, the producers of this program have been taking note of your concerns, and you can look forward to future conversations on this very subject, with a request, of course, for September, calling our leaders to order, and of course ensuring that they are accountable. And of course, we have come to the close of our program, Muriro on Monday. I'm Eben Mabunda, the Money Man. Let them do what they do. When we do what we do, we mean business. Thank you, and have yourselves a very good evening.
Everywhere I go.